I've really been doing a lot of thinking about these two kind of journeys that we're on simultaneously. And it's a safe thing to say we're all on these two journeys here in this room, right? One of these journeys is the spiritual journey. And we've been on that journey, from the moment we were born, and it's not a record scratch, any previous lifetimes, right? It's just been going on and on. And maybe you're like me, and you became aware of that spiritual journey more recently. And maybe you're like a lot of people I work with, and you were aware of it the moment you were born and conscious of it every moment since. And wherever you're at, somewhere in between or in one of those camps, perfect, right? And there's all this awareness that's unfolding all the time. And I'm always thinking, how can we distill down things to their essence? How can we really get to the meat of it? And I guess the way that I perceive the spiritual journey is it's really about remembering and experiencing who we really are, right? If we just, and then there's this other thing that happens. And, I had words initially, but they were just interesting words, right? And then along the way, more words come in. And there are these words that have been coming in recently around kind of reunion with the soul. It's sort of interesting. There's some resonance there, I think. But whatever we want to call it, at the end of the day, words arise from the illusion of separation, right? The idea that we're separate from one another or separate from the divine, which of course isn't true. And so let's just say these words are placeholders for something deeper, which you understand and experience for yourself, right? You already have an awareness and experience of this. What I can say is that, and it's still really a miracle to me, why did God pick me? How did this all come together? It's a mystery that's unfolding all the time. But one of the things that I know about this gift that I have been given, and I'm very clear I was given this gift, is that it's really ultimately an opportunity to deepen that experience of self, of true nature, of the divine within our being. And from my standpoint, there are maybe three kind of essential components of that. One of the things that I see is the importance of embodying the soul. And what I mean by that, let's just say the soul is the vessel or the pathway through which we encounter the divine, or through which the divine animates our bodies and our minds. Is that a reasonable, kind of acceptable, not so messy bit of words to describe something, the ineffable? So if we embody our souls, really what I see intuitively and what I feel energetically is that when we actually come into our entire being, all the way down into our hips, something profound happens that could be very subtle, and it might not be that subtle too. It could be really powerful. And there are all these side effects that just kind of trickle out from that experience. The things that we want to have happen in our lives, that we want to focus on, but if we sort of turn our attention over to this other thing, supporting our souls and coming home in our bodies, then this other profound thing that we really would like to focus on just naturally begins to happen. And so for many people, that one thing becomes a mystical experience, a direct experience of the divine. And there are a couple other pieces that fit into this puzzle here. Whoa. A lot of wonderful energy in here. One of them is an experience of wholeness, right? We all know that we're whole. We know that we're undistorted expressions of the divine. But how often are we actually having a visceral experience of that? That's sort of an interesting question, right, to ask. And because everything is happening for me from an experiential standpoint, I'd like to share that experience with you if I could this evening. That experience of coming into the body, that experience of wholeness. And then I guess the third piece to this is letting go of control, surrender. Those are probably the three key elements of the spiritual journey. And at least from my perspective. And so what is the byproduct that happens as a result of these? Well, there are lots of things, right? Our bodies come into greater resonance, our minds, our lives. All of these things are reflections of that inner experience of our true nature, right? And one of the things that begins to happen is union, where we're actually coming to union with the divine. And if we can, I would love to facilitate that this evening and really dive into that even more deeply. I'm getting the thumbs up. That's great. Awesome. So I think we can do that together. I think that's one of the benefits of sitting together in a group of deeply resonant practitioners, is that we have an opportunity to really just do that. Should I back up? Okay. Okay, so that's the spiritual journey. Okay, so then there's another journey that we're all taking, all of us in this room, and that is the journey of the spiritual messenger. So, to me, we're all spiritual messengers, right? Just like we're all undistorted expressions of the divine, but some of us maybe are a little more aware that we're spiritual messengers, right? You all have an awareness that you're a spiritual messenger. You've focused enormous energy and resources on exploring becoming a practitioner in your practice and serving the community and one another in a really profound way. And I've been very blessed to work with all sorts of different spiritual messengers. And if we distill that journey down, let's call it the journey of discovery, of gifts, of message, of mission or purpose, exploration of those, and then embodiment of those. And the first layer, the spiritual journey, is feeding the second layer, right? So, and if we talk about the most important aspect of the first layer, the first step, it's embodying the soul. So do you see how these things all kind of, and of course, we already know all these things, right? I could stand up here, and I can't really sing, so I don't think I could sing, but I might be able to hum, maybe. And if we turn the mic off, I'd be much more comfortable, because I can't actually hum in tune, I don't think, unless I plug my ear or something like that. So this is the context for our conversation, for our time together this evening. Okay? And this is the role of that embodiment of the soul. So let me just see if there's something else. We both took our shoes off. It's interesting, Bob and you're welcome to take your shoes off too. I hope it's okay to take shoes off up here. Is that acceptable? Is that okay? The reason, I'll tell you why I take my shoes off, because in my body, I feel the divine. The first way that my gift presented itself to me is in physical resonance. And there are two places where I experience physical resonance that are most pronounced: in my hands and in my feet. And they actually they represent something different I discovered a while ago, a long time ago. It feels like forever ago. It's 2008. Not that long ago. My feet tell me about resonance with the frequency of the divine. Okay? And it's not an on or an off. If you're familiar with muscle testing or kinesiology, right, that's sort of an on or off. This is a continuum. So it's more like the analog meters on a soundboard or something like that. You know, there's a whole continuum there. And then my hands are telling me about resonance in the mirror. So the body is a mirror, right? The outward expression of life, so on and so forth, right? We all have this common reference point from a language. So I take my shoes off so I can feel God more fully. And when I stand on my feet, they're buzzing so much right now, I can feel them, but I feel even more when I sit down. So that's why I'm going to sit down when I'm working with you, okay? So I think there have probably been a lot of questions about, well, what does this Ken Stone character do, and what is actually happening? And I want to, I'd love to understand from you all what your experience is. That's much more interesting than anything I could say. But what I can tell you is that we're going to do some things that are guided, and we're going to do some things that are at a deeper level. And I'll do something that I call asking permission to plug in. So where I'm actually working with you on an energetic or a spiritual level. And at that point, although I can feel the resonance in the room and your resonance, and at that point, the illusion of separation has fallen away. And it's the best way that I know how to sort of honor who you are and your energy, right? Even though we're all one, you know, we came here separately, right, to gather, and so I want to be respectful of that. Okay, so let me just kind of check in here a little bit and see if there's anything else I want to. Let's get to some experiences. Words. Yeah, let's step away from words. Let's move towards a deeper experience of who we really are, okay? I'll sit down. You can, if it's comfortable, you can close your eyes and breathe in and out through your nostrils and palms to the sky. But here's the deal. God doesn't really care, right? God is not particular. So do what's most comfortable for you. Palms to the sky, as you all know, is a great receiving position, but, you know, God's already alive and well. Larry had some beautiful things to say about that at the beginning. I couldn't agree more. So let's sink in a little bit here. This is called divine connecting breath, but as Jess pointed out some years ago, it has very little to do with the breath. But that's kind of how it goes with me. The words are just kind of floating along. I used to call it oil pan breath. So see what you think of oil pan breath here. But the key here is we're going to move from a perspective of separation into a deeper experience of wholeness. And we're going to do it pretty quickly. Okay? All right, let's sit down here.